On today's Amateur Market Minute, Apple just dropped a devastating lawsuit against OpenAI, accusing the AI company of straight up theft. Also, Meta suffered a major blow after releasing an AI update that customers immediately revolted against over privacy concerns. And Paramount is now threatening to leave California, which would have a devastating impact on Hollywood and the surrounding economy. Let us get into our first story. Now, Apple is suing OpenAI, and this lawsuit will have a devastating impact on both companies' relationship. And a lot of folks are wondering why Apple is suing OpenAI, considering that both companies have a strong relationship. But once we take a look at the reason why, it makes a lot of sense. And here we have the reason explaining that Apple on Friday sued OpenAI in federal court in Northern California, alleging trade secret theft, saying that the artificial intelligence lab, which is OpenAI, took the iPhone maker's intellectual property in order to develop its own consumer hardware. It is clear as to what Apple is accusing OpenAI of doing. They're accusing them of stealing trade secrets, intellectual properties, to essentially develop their own consumer hardwares, like making phones, making watches, making laptops, and all these different things. And it makes a lot of sense whenever you take a look at the evidence that Apple outlined in this lawsuit, where Apple is alleging that an engineer, along with OpenAI, kept a way into Apple's most sensitive files after the engineer left the company and used it. Cheng Lu, a senior system electrical engineer for 8 years, defected to OpenAI in January. Within weeks, Apple says he discovered a security bug let him still reach the company's confidential hardware files, and rather than report it, he exploited it and coached a colleague still inside Apple on how to copy materials without tripping the security team. And these are some serious allegations, because what Apple is saying right here is that an engineer left the company, and Apple is also suing this engineer as well, that engineer left the company, went over to OpenAI, found a way into Apple's files, accessed those files, and then started coaching other members at Apple to do the same thing for OpenAI. That's what's being alleged here, which is some pretty serious accusations. And that's not the only thing that Apple is alleging, because here Apple is saying that they believe that OpenAI is asking hardware firms to carry out a metal finishing technique that Apple invented, while misleading the partner to believe they had Apple's permission to do so. And if you don't know what metal finishing is, it's basically whenever you're making a phone, any type of hardware, and you have a piece of metal, you use some process to beautify that piece of metal so it has a better finish. And one of the reasons why this lawsuit came as a shock to a lot of people is because both companies entered into a high-profile partnership in 2024 when ChatGPT was integrated into the iPhone's operating system. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman even visited Apple's headquarters for this announcement to showcase that both companies were trying to create this lasting partnership or this lasting relationship. But that relationship immediately fell apart when OpenAI announced plans to enter the hardware industry last year to make phones, laptops, and all these different things, when it bought former Apple designer John Ives' startup called IO Products for $6.4 billion. And the question is, what is OpenAI saying in regards to this lawsuit? And they actually put out a statement where they said that we have no interest in other companies' trade secrets. We remain focused on building innovative technology that empowers people everywhere. And this lawsuit may be the end of the relationship between OpenAI and Apple, considering the fact that Apple is accusing OpenAI of stealing their intellectual properties, their trade secrets, to use to build their own hardware to compete directly with Apple. And Apple had huge plans to integrate ChatGPT into its iPhones and other products. But now let us move on to our next story. Now, Meta, the parent company for Instagram and Facebook, released a new AI feature that they were immediately forced to pull back because their users, their customers, revolted over privacy concerns. And now let us take a look at this AI feature and what privacy concerns users had. And it involves this Muse image, which is a new AI image generator built by Meta Superintelligence Labs, its dedicated AI unit. Meta promoted one feature that allowed individuals to generate images by just mentioning a public Instagram account that they wanted to reference. The feature wasn't designed to alert a user if their photos were being used in this way, which was a massive privacy concern for a lot of people, considering the fact that a lot of people accounts are public and anyone can use the images that you have online to essentially generate whatever they want. If they want to generate an image that looks like you without your permission, and you didn't have the option to opt out of this, you were automatically opted into this feature, so you had zero say into what Meta was doing with your personal image. And it makes a lot of sense as to why a lot of people were upset, because since the integration with social media platforms, AI has been misused with while abandoned. Oftentimes, to generate images of female celebrities, platforms have attempted to mitigate this trend, although the guardrails introduced have oftentimes fallen short. So you can see why a lot of people are concerned with this, and why the customers on platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and all these other Meta platforms, WhatsApp, people started revolting. And Meta immediately announced to reverse course. The company issued a blog post Friday announcing that it was removing the feature. And this is what Meta actually stated: "Our intent was to provide a useful creative tool and to give people control over whether their public content could be referenced in this way." And this is the most important part right here. We have heard the feedback that this feature missed the mark, so it is no longer available. And I think this is great that Meta did this, because they're listening to their customers, they're listening to their users, and they rolled this AI feature back. And now let us move on to our next story. So Paramount is now threatening to leave California, and if they go through with this decision, it'll be a major blow to Hollywood, to California, and a lot of industries throughout the state. And the reason why they're thinking about leaving is because the state's attorney general, he's planning to block a deal between Paramount and Warner Brothers. But let us take a look at the real reasons why these threats are being made and why California is trying to block that deal. Because as California tries to derail Paramount $110 billion takeover of Warner Brothers, Discovery Paramount CEO David Ellison's friends and advisors have been pushing the media executive to consider shifting his business out of the state. And the real reason for this is because Bonta's office, that's the Attorney General for California, has been reviewing the deal between Paramount and Warner Brothers for potential violation of U.S. antitrust law, as movie theater owners, Hollywood actors, and others have expressed concerns that the deal would decrease competition across the industry, leading to lower wages, higher prices, and fewer options for consumers and content buyers. Just to explain exactly what is going on. So the deal between Paramount and Warner Brothers were announced, and California's Attorney General, they're now looking at the deal. They're looking to review the deal to see if it violates antitrust laws. And if it does, what they're going to do, they're going to sue to stop the deal from happening. And the movie industry in California as well, we're talking about actors, we're talking about movie theater owners. They're all upset that this deal is going through as well, because what they're saying it's going to cut wages, they're going to lose jobs, and a whole bunch of different things. But Paramount, they're not taking this laying over what they're saying. They're saying, if you stop this deal, we're going to leave California, and it's going to have an even bigger impact, because if the company moves its headquarters out of California and much of the $30 billion that they have in planned spending from out of California, then that's going to devastate the local movie economy. And one advisor went as far as to describe California as an inhospitable place for Paramount to operate, and said that a lawsuit challenging the merger would ultimately push the company to leave the state. And I do agree, because a lot of companies have been raising the alarm over the past couple of years in regards to California and its business environment. A lot of companies want to get out of California, and Paramount would not be the first major company to decamp from California in recent years due to tussle with state regulators. Chevron relocated corporate headquarters from San Ramon to Texas 2 years ago, while Oracle and Tesla have made similar moves to the Lone Star State. And Paramount just joined a growing list of companies that are considering moving their business from out of California. And that brings us to the end of today's Amateur Market Minute. Please let me know what you think in the comment section below in regards to OpenAI being sued by Apple, Meta's AI rollout, and this threat from Paramount. Also, please consider liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, as I'm a small creator and I'd really appreciate the support, especially if you want these daily updates. Thank you.